was a time when getting dressed wasn't just about comfort, it was about rules. Rules passed down by parents, teachers, even magazines, shaping the way men and women stepped out into the world. Whether it was Sunday best or everyday wear, fashion carried a sense of order and tradition. Today, we're looking back at 10 fashion rules everyone followed in the mid-20th century, customs that once felt unshakable but have quietly faded away. 1. Hats were a must outdoors. In the 1940s and 50s, no outfit was complete without a hat. Men wore fedoras or flat caps, while women sported stylish pillbox or wide-brimmed hats. It wasn't just fashion, it was a sign of respectability. By the late 60s, though, hats began to fade as hairstyles took center stage, leaving behind a tradition that once crowned every American outing. 2. White only after Easter, never after Labor Day. The no white after Labor Day rule was more than just a suggestion. It was practically law in polite society. Wearing white, especially dresses or shoes, was tied to summer leisure and warm weather fashion. Once the calendar turned, it was time to pack them away. Today, most people shrug at the idea, but for mid-century Americans, it was a marker of class and elegance. 3. Gloves for ladies always. From church pews to shopping downtown, women of the 1950s were rarely seen without a pair of gloves. They added refinement and completed the outfit, especially for formal occasions. White cotton in the summer, leather in the winter. Gloves were as necessary as a purse. By the 1970s, gloves felt old-fashioned, and bare hands became the new normal. For suits and ties even off the clock. For men, dressing sharp wasn't just for work. A trip to the movies, dinner with the family, or even a Sunday stroll often called for a suit and tie. Looking presentable in public was expected. It showed pride and dignity. As casual culture grew in the late 20th century, the everyday suit was swapped for jeans and polos, leaving behind a more formal era. 5. Women wore dresses, not pants. In the 1940s and 50s, it was rare to see a woman in trousers outside of factory work or gardening. Skirts and dresses were considered proper, feminine, and ladylike. Pants slowly gained ground in the 60s with women's liberation, but before then, slipping on slacks could raise an eyebrow or even break a school dress code. 6. Church meant Sunday best. Sundays weren't just for worship, they were for showing up in your finest. Men polished their shoes and wore pressed suits, while women donned hats, gloves, and tailored dresses. It wasn't about vanity but respect for faith, family, and community. Today, church attire is far more relaxed, but the memory of Sunday best still lingers in family albums. 7. Matching shoes and handbags. For women, stepping out with mismatched accessories was almost unthinkable. A black purse meant black shoes, while a brown bag called for brown heels. It was a rule hammered home by etiquette guides and department store clerks. By the 1980s, mixing colors became fashionable, and the strict matching game faded into history. 8. Stockings were non-negotiable. From the 1930s through the 60s, no respectable woman left the house without stockings. They gave a polished look and were considered essential for modesty. During World War II, when nylon was rationed, women even painted seams on their legs to keep up appearances. Bare legs became stylish later, but for decades, stockings were as necessary as shoes. 9. School dress codes were strict. Boys wore collared shirts, often tucked in and never jeans. Girls wore skirts that brushed the knee, sometimes with saddle shoes or Mary Janes. Schools enforced these standards tightly, believing proper dress encouraged proper behavior. By the 1970s, dress codes relaxed, opening the door for denim, sneakers, and self-expression. 10. Seasonal fabrics were a rule of life. Wool in the winter, seersucker in the summer, clothing once followed the seasons like clockwork. Heavy tweeds came out with the cold, while light linens returned with the sun. Dressing out of season wasn't just unusual, it was frowned upon. Today, air conditioning and modern blends blur the lines, but mid-century wardrobes were built around the calendar. Fashion isn't just fabric, it's memory. Every glove, every hat, every rule we've talked about today paints a picture of a time when getting dressed was both ritual and pride. Which of these fashion rules do you remember, or wish would make a comeback? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time as we flip through more pages of America's past.